He's one of South Africa's most insightful political analysts. He's SMWX royalty. And today, we have so much to unpack with the Mkhwanazi Commission, the Joburg mayor's race, and the bombshell allegations that criminal networks have penetrated the highest reaches of South Africa's government. No one better to speak to than Gogo Aubrey Matshiqi. Before we get in today's episode, I want to give a big shout out to the Sneaker Shack, South Africa's biggest sneaker laundry. They don't just clean your shoes, they keep your soles up to date, so your story keeps moving. With 15 stores across the country and online, they make sure your kicks are always fresh. And since you're a part of the SMWX fam, you get, guess what, 20% off your next clean with code SMWX. Thokoza Gogo.
Thokoza Hlubi.
What do you make of General Masemola's testimony today, where he says that Mchunu, Minister Mchunu, informed him that the president knew about the disbandment of the political killings task team, but then he told Masemola, or he acted shocked when Masemola mentioned this to him, the president?
Well, before we go there, Hlubi, I want to start on a profound note with a very profound question. What is hush curry?
We'll have to bring Mighty Jamie to fully answer that question.
No, he has never whispered in your ear, what is hush curry?
It actually traces back to a Casper Nyovest song.
Oh, I thought maybe hush curry is a dish that was served at Saxon World.
We'll have to see. We'll have to cross-examine Mighty Jamie.
But before we continue, I think I must invite the viewers of SMWX to watch an episode that His Royal Hushness, Mighty Jamie, did on the rules of evidence.
Yeah.
It is a terribly good episode.
Absolutely.
I think we must all watch it to understand some of the nonsense we see in the media.
Yeah.
With journalists asking, maybe not innocently, about Mkhwanazi. Where is the evidence?
It's an absolutely impossible standard to expect of a whistleblower to have everything they say be beyond a reasonable doubt. We don't expect that of any whistleblower. None of the whistleblowers at the Zondo Commission had multiple sources of evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, but whistleblowers raise concerns.
Yes.
And do so often taking their life into their own hands. Moreover, I would say Mkhwanazi as a whistleblower has offered more evidence than any whistleblower I can think of in recent times.
Well, if we think of the fact that in the first place, oral evidence is evidence. And that not only does he offer us oral evidence, but he also offers us documentary evidence. I don't understand the question. And I don't think the question is innocent. We did say in our last episode that the media or sections of the media or some journalists are embedded. Having said that, Mkhwanazi also refers to what I call primary definers, the analysts, the commentators, the academics. He refers to Mary Digas and how with what to me looked like indecent alacrity, she went on the attack very soon after Mkhwanazi had finished his press briefing on the 6th of July. And the problem we have is how there are times the media uses people like us, political analysts, political commentators, academics, and so on, as primary definers, meaning Our job is to define or to be the primary definers of political, social, and economic reality for audiences. In other words, if Gogo Aubrey says it, it must be true. Mm. If a professor says it, it must be true. If someone is a doctor, Mpofu, it must be true. Mm. So two things happen. Either we ourselves position ourselves as primary definers, or the media positions us as primary definers in the process of manipulating the hearts and minds of the audience. And I wonder whether with Paul O'Sullivan and Mary Tichas, if this is not what we're dealing with.
What do you make of... Okay, maybe let's start with at the beginning of the Mkhwanazi, before we get to the end of Masemola's testimony as we sit. Because you're speaking about evidence. Mkhwanazi offered WhatsApp conversations about what's happening with senior politicians and those who intermediated between them and people who are currently facing arrest and conviction. And then there were other instances in which he simply said, this looked strange to me. I don't necessarily have slam dunk evidence to suggest that this magistrate was in the clutches of a cartel. Yeah. But when you piece the entire puzzle together, there are certain things that need to be answered because of the decisions that on the face of it look strange. How did you find his testimony over the 3 days? And did anything in particular stand out to you that you think we should be paying particular attention to?
Let me declare my bias again. I did say in our last conversation that I like both Mkhwanazi and Mchunu.
Yeah.
Let me expand on that bias. Having heard what I heard since last week Wednesday from Mkhwanazi and Masemola, I like Mkhwanazi even more now. So let me declare that bias. Let me declare another bias. I like Mchunu less than I did the last time we had our conversation. So let me declare that bias up front.
Yeah, sure.
So, of course, in the absence of cross-examination and in the absence of a rebuttal or rebuttals, Mkhwanazi's testimony is compelling. But as I say, it's compelling in the absence of a rebuttal or cross-examination. But it is my view, and I suspect I'm not wrong, that even when we have had rebuttals and we have had Mkhwanazi cross-examined, his story will remain more or less intact.
Yeah.
The allegations will remain more or less intact and will be corroborated, as we have seen with Masemola, by others after Masemola. And I think the findings of the commission will confirm that the testimony of Mkhwanazi, Masemola, and others will corroborate their testimony was credible.
It's an important point because it seems to me that the attack on Mkhwanazi that we saw in some places is trying to find any small loophole in what he said to then undermine his credibility on the central claims that he's making, which are about political influence over the disbandment of the task team. And it's profoundly important for us to remember that you don't have to be perfect to be a whistleblower in South Africa.
You don't have to be an angel.
Absolutely. And hasn't Mkhwanazi got everything right in his career, even in the allegations he's made? I don't know. But if he's human, probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that we now assume that the real substantive allegations about the existence of criminal elements influencing government, especially in the disbandment of the task team, have to be taken seriously. I found nothing to dissuade me from that perspective.
And Hlubi, we must not forget why this commission of inquiry is so important. At some point after 1994, a South African commissioner of police is elected president of Interpol. And subsequent to that, he is found guilty in a court of law and is sentenced to 15 years in jail. A South African former police commissioner and former president of Interpol, which means...
Jackie Silebi, by the way, for those who... Yeah.
Not only did the criminal syndicate infiltrate our police networks through Silebi, but through Silebi they infiltrated Interpol. In other words, what you are hearing in this commission may have both national and international or transnational implications. This is why this commission is so important.
Yeah.
And this is why we can ill afford sections of the media faffing around with stupid questions about where is the evidence.
Absolutely. In terms of his testimony on, I think of this along three dimensions. There's the big politicians.
Yes.
There's the criminal justice system. So the police, magistracy, judiciary, we'll see, correctional services, etc. Then there's the cartels and the what I'm calling cartelpreneurs.
Yes.
So he's basically shown us the relationship between these three groups.
Yes.
The cartel is putting pressure on the politicians, but in order to do that, they also need to make sure that the criminal justice system doesn't nab them.
Yes.
So they also have to put pressure on the criminal justice system. And that's the picture, when we take a step back, that's emerging, of an attempt not only to frustrate any attempt to arrest the cartel, but then also to extract money from the state for the cartel's purposes.
Yes. Well, remember what we said in the last conversation when you spoke about the deep state. And we said the deep state comes into existence when there is collusion between politicians, senior government officials, including police officials, criminal syndicates, rogue intelligence operatives in the state and private sector, working together. Or also we said rogue people in business. Now, of course, I don't know why you call these people business people. When I was growing up, if a newspaper referred to someone as a tycoon, I knew that the person was a crook. Similarly here, I think genuine business people must refuse to be called business people, because it is clear now, if you are called a business person, it means you're just a common criminal. You're a crook. I don't know why people like Ken Madlanga should be referred to as business people, or the president's alleged nephew.
He's confirmed it is his nephew, by the way. He just says he doesn't know his nephew.
Was so distant he doesn't remember.
Which is...
it's possible. Our extended families are huge sometimes. So it is possible.
I'm not so sure. But
when you look at these people who are linked to what was going on at the Tembisa hospital, these are not business people. These are common criminals who, together with some politicians and senior police officers, have constituted a criminal syndicate. So when I heard Masemola talking about the Big Five, I said to myself, we must not assume that none of the five are part of the political class.
Sure.
And you must not assume that none of the five are part of our police networks.
Wow.
So it is possible.
Yeah.
Firstly, that the five includes people who are part of the political class, includes senior police officers, and of course, these common criminals we call business people. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is that, yes, the police have identified the Big Five. But it doesn't mean they have identified the totality of the reality in front of us.
Absolutely. Such an important point, Gogo.
It could mean that, yes, this Big Five has been identified.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they've identified all cartels.
So true. Or how deep even this particular cartel goes.
Yes.
Now, this is one thing that I wanted to explore with you, because I was doing some thinking for myself, and I was thinking, okay, how can we go deeper than just the specific things we're hearing about Mchunu and Matlala, etc., which at this point are becoming fairly well established.
Yes.
And I was thinking to myself, how deep could this network potentially go? And I was thinking, okay, we know it's involved in healthcare,
Yes.
Tembisa Hospital. We know the police, but what other parts of the state potentially could already be, I don't want to use the word captured because of its long history, but penetrated?
Yes.
And are there any links between this particular cartel that's been uncovered and potential other ones? And I was thinking of, I don't even want to start saying it, because I feel like I'm starting to uncover things that are getting too.
Yes.
But if you think of different corruption stories, what is the potential of actually them being linked? So it's not just the Tembisa Hospital and the police on this side and other corruption, but in fact, a deeper network of which this is just part.
Well, let me do two things. Firstly, there is criminality, and I call it criminality, that is just me. There is criminality that is not unlawful. The kind of criminality, in my view, that is described by Open Secrets in their latest study on who owns the South African economy and therefore who owns South Africa.
Sure.
Amongst other things, they talk about regulatory capture. And how does this regulatory capture happen? You have people who are sitting, let's say, in the Reserve Bank as executives or senior officials who are sitting in National Treasury as senior officials, and they're not there. What happens to them? They leave National Treasury, they leave the Reserve Bank to become bank executives. And this becomes secular. Those are in the banking system and other parts of the financial system will leave the financial sector to become senior officials in the Reserve Bank or National Treasury. And then, as I said, at the same time, you will have people leaving National Treasury and the Reserve Bank to become bank executive. So there is criminality, in my view, that is not unlawful. It should be, but is not. And I think last time we had a conversation, I talked about banksterism. Well, I think we're talking about Stilfontein. And I spoke about banksterism. Banksterism is a phenomenon, in my view, that is criminal. By that, I'm talking about the criminality of men in suits who run banks and who are part of the financial sector domestically and globally. And some of their activities do become criminal in terms of their law, but they have the means to avoid the implications of their criminality. And they have political cover and other kinds of cover. So yes, the Madlanga Commission will look at the kind of cartels that are being described by Masemola, Mkhwanazi, and will be described by others during the course of the work of the commission. In a way, a commission such as the Madlanga Commission is a good distraction if you are engaged in banksterism, regulatory capture, and so on. In other words, if you are a thug in a suit and a tie, in the financial sector, in the banking system, in the Reserve Bank, in National Treasury, the Madlanga Commission is good news because it is a distraction. Our gaze is focused on the criminality of a Sibia or a minister. And it means while we are focused on this, we are not looking at other problems. As I say, regulatory capture.
I mean, there's also the question of how the ANC itself is captured by actually all of these forces, from extremely wealthy business interests in the formal economy to potentially also these criminal enterprises now. I mean, you came on and spoke about Brasox recently and the way that the history of the struggle was in part, even if in a small part, intermingled with the illicit drug trade.
And the illicit gun trade.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. What gets me about this moment, though, Gogo, is let's take state capture.
Yes.
There, at least, I say at least in jest, but at least you had business people trying to corrupt the state for business interests.
Yes.
Here, what we have is criminal interests penetrating the state for criminal interests.
Yes.
The business interests are just part of the funding mechanism for the criminal enterprise, which involves murder, which involves kidnapping, which involves the drug trade as well, which is a distinctly worrying turn. It's almost as if state capture is looking quite quaint when we look at the intentions of this new grouping, which is getting or has secured increasing sway in government.
Well, you remember that I sometimes angrily bemoan the fact that we focus so narrowly on the so-called 9 wasted years.
Yeah.
And develop a very narrow conception of state capture.
Yeah.
And the reason I get angry with this narrow conception and self-serving conception of state, because some political actors were using this narrow conception of state capture to achieve their own agendas. And the reason I get angry is because we focus so narrowly on this so-called state capture without looking at the fact that there are many ways in which the state is captured. What the Madlanga Commission is dealing with now is state capture.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And here the state is captured by, or sections of the state are captured by criminal syndicates or drug cartels.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at some of the testimony, we asked the question last time, and I still ask the question, how high does this go? If it goes high enough, then the Madlanga Commission is dealing with state capture. So the state is captured in different ways.
Yeah, and by multiple players.
But there are ways we find palatable. Sure. And that is why I keep on saying we don't have an in principle antipathy or opposition to state capture. It depends on who has captured the state.
Yeah.
If the state is captured by men in suits and ties, we don't have a problem. And that is why some forms of state capture, such as what the Madlanga Commission is dealing with now, are not palatable. And other forms of state capture are palatable. So you can say, during the period of Zuma's presidency, South Africa was in the middle of state capture. Before Zuma's presidency, before 2009, there was no state capture. Since Zuma left the union buildings, there has been no state capture. There's nothing more nonsensical than that. So the idea that there was no state capture before 2009 is nonsensical. And the idea that there has been no state capture after 2018 is nonsensical. What the Madlanga Commission is showing us is a particular form of state capture which happened after Zuma left the union buildings.
When you talk about how high this goes, we've heard the presidency and the president's name being mentioned almost every day of this commission.
Yes.
The real question there are three big questions about the president. Let me start with number one, which is, what did he know about the disbandment of this political killings task team? Now, Mkhwanazi has testified that he rushed to Masemola, who was on holiday, to say, please check with the president if he endorses this decision to disband the task team. And Mkhwanazi basically said, the National Police Commissioner never got back to me. Now, recently, Masemola in his testimony said, I did speak to the president about this, and he seemed shocked and that this would be disbanded, this task team. And he said he would speak to the minister. But it all goes a bit fuzzy after that because we never know exactly what he said to the minister. What do you make of the president's emerging role in this commission as a key role player?
Well, let me declare another bias. And the reason I must declare my bias is so that those who are watching, when they listen to what I'm saying and they do so critically, they listen to it against the backdrop of my bias.
Sure.
Because there is an extent to which those who are watching are duty bound to call me out.
Absolutely.
And you too, when you realize during the course of this conversation that my analysis is being colored by my bias, you can call me out too. And if I realize that actually a certain point I'm making is colored by my bias, I will concede. Now, let me declare my bias. It's a well-known bias. I don't rate Cyril Ramaphosa highly. And at the best of time, I don't believe what he says. And the view I have of him is that if 10 people have a dispute and they go to Cyril Ramaphosa for dispute resolution, all of them, the 10 who are in dispute, will come out believing Ramaphosa sided with them. So, yes, Mkhwanazi says, I asked Masemola to talk to the president. Masemola says, yes, I spoke to the president. And the president seemed disturbed by the fact that Mchunu wanted to disband the PKTT immediately. But I think today, you can correct me if I misremember.
Yeah.
I think today Masemola says, according to Mchunu, the president approved.
He did say that.
Of the disbandment.
Which is a massive state. What do you make of that statement from Masemola, that at least Mchunu told him, being Masemola, that the president was on board with this?
Well, the possibility is that Mchunu lied to Masemola. Another possibility is that the president lied to Masemola.
Or both.
Yes, or both.
Yeah.
But the versions given by Masemola in relation to his interactions with the president and what Mchunu says about the president are not inconsistent with what I believe about him. That, as I said, if 10 people are in a dispute and they need him to mediate, they'll come out of the mediation believing he sided with all of them.
There's a difficulty for the president because it seems to me either way, and there's another question about whether the commission will have the backbone to really ask these questions, but one of two things must be true. Either he knew about this disbandment decision and endorsed it to Mchunu, or he didn't know about it. Or
he instructed Mchunu to disband.
Wow. Okay. I haven't even thought of that one. Either way, it seems to be bad for the president because if he indeed disbanded, then we have to ask the question, why did he disband? And what was he trying to protect? But if he didn't know, then it paints a picture of a president who doesn't have control over these absolutely critical decisions, and there are rogue ministers disbanding task teams which he himself created. So I can't see a situation in which, number one, the president doesn't appear at the commission, and if he does appear, he isn't subjected to difficult questioning about either of these two scenarios.
Well, I think it was a week after the 6th July briefing of Mkhwanazi. I'm watching SABC TV, and there's a panel discussion. It's a discussion between different security experts. One security expert says the president has no clue when it comes to how these cartels and criminal syndicates operate. Another panel says, no, I disagree. This is a man who hid dollars in his couch. That's a gangster move right there. That's what he says. So the point I'm making is that I'm making 2 points. Firstly, I hope the commission is going to ask the president to come and testify. But the second point I'm making is that if I were to go and confess my sins to someone, it would not be to a priest who hid dollars in his couch. Or, let's say he did not hide the cash. Because it's quite possible the president did not hide the cash in the couch. The money hid itself there. He has no knowledge of how the money got there.
And now we hear that the couch itself has disappeared, so...
Maybe the couch has never existed. Because if you listen to, you just look at the work that was done by the public protector and the Reserve Bank giving us that very interesting word we did not know. That, what did they say?
The transaction wasn't perfected.
Was not completed. Did they say it was
perfected.
Not complete? Effected.
Perfected,
perfected. Now, if you look at what the Reserve Bank did, you look at the work that was done by the public protector, you look at the work that was done by SARS, you look at a judge who decides that the CR17 bank transactions must be sealed. a picture is emerging here. There is every attempt to protect the president.
Yeah.
But I have a different question. Is this an attempt to protect the president? Or are we dealing with the situation that there are parties beyond or higher than the president who are being protected?
Yeah. That's something we seriously need to consider.
But I hope the Madlanga Commission will ask the president to come and testify.
Absolutely agreed. And on that note, the second question for the president right now, and this remains speculative on my part, I'll admit that, but is those sealed bank statements. To what extent can any link be drawn? And I simply ask this as a question between some of the people who are currently being implicated in this cartel and the political campaign of Ramaphosa in 2017. And the reason I ask that is because Mchunu was a central player in his campaign, his SG candidate. So at the very least, because we can't rule anything out in South Africa anymore, we also need to rule out, and we needed to have it ruled out, that Phala Phala, anyone else involved in the syndicate, either hasn't given any political funding to the president or the ANC, which he leads, and whether he knows that or doesn't know that.
The man who is not an associate of the Minister of Police, Mkhwanazi.
Yeah, exactly. That's another link, yeah.
Was he not part of the CR17 campaign? Because his name has been flagged in that regard.
And we need those answers, and
Yes.
we need that clarity.
But I will also tell you something that has never happened. The ANC has never received funding in cash, in boxes of cash, from countries like the DRC. That has never happened. I will also say the ANC has never received funding in boxes of cash paid by Bozize from the Central African Republic. These are things that have not happened, in the same way that Mkhwanazi is not an associate of the Minister of Police, who I think is not going to survive the Madlanga Commission, in the same way that I don't think General Sibiya will survive the Madlanga Commission.
Yeah.
But there are two things that interest me. Firstly, how do we get here? And part of the answer is provided by Thabo Mbeki when he delivers the 4th Nelson Mandela annual lecture. And he zooms in on the fact that we've become quite a materialistic society, and that the value we attach to individuals depends on what they own, depends on their material well-being, depends on their wealth. Now, when I listen to the Madlanga Commission, I then go back to that lecture, because the lecture, of course, here I may be guilty of confirmation bias, confirms my own suspicion that we get here for two reasons: greed and what I call the cult of lifestyle. And the two are mutually reinforcing. So you need the money in order to finance your cult, this cult of lifestyle. So we need the money to buy the things that we can display on Instagram, the wealth. So in that 4th Nelson Mandela annual lecture, Thabo Mbeki is talking about the crass materialism and the conspicuous consumption.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in part we are here because of the crass materialism and this conspicuous consumption, because this greed and this desire to access mountains of money means you can go on a religious pilgrimage in Dubai in the sense that we have become a society, and you are not the only society in the world that is like, this is a global phenomenon. We have become a society that worships money and the moneyed.
Absolutely.
And at least once in your lifetime, you need to go to Dubai on a religious pilgrimage. Now, of course, for me, Dubai is a symbol. Well, firstly, it's a glorified shopping mall. Secondly, it's a citadel of iniquity and a citadel of the hedonistic. And these people steal from our people, infiltrate the state, the police and the political class, and so on, so that one day they have enough money to go on this pilgrimage in Dubai. We must also do a second thing. What does a criminal syndicate need? Firstly, it needs a revenue stream.
Sure.
At some point, that revenue stream must buy something else.
Yeah.
The capacity to diversify its criminal enterprise.
Into more and more legitimate streams as well.
Legitimate and illegitimate.
Sure.
But the point I'm making is a good one, because if you diversify the revenue stream of a cartel, so let's say the genesis of the cartel is drugs.
Yeah, sure.
From the proceeds of drugs, they can diversify to areas like human trafficking, for instance. And the human trafficking, again, back to Dubai. You can traffic human beings who are female from this country to be pulled on by Arab elites in Dubai. You can provide labor for the Russian military industrial complex. So from different parts of Africa, you have people who are trafficked by cartels to go and work in the Russian factories to produce ammunition and so on for the Ukraine effort. So you can diversify into those two areas amongst others. The element of diversification that scares me the most, or before I come to that one, you need intelligence. You need information as a drug cartel.
Sure.
And this is why you must infiltrate the state.
The place where the intelligence lies, actually.
The police and intelligence networks.
Yeah. I daren't even mention military intelligence, but let me not.
Well, I will come to military intelligence just now. Remind me if I forget.
Because I might just add, this is the one aspect of the state apparatus that actually hasn't been mentioned much in the Madlanga Commission.
But I think it's one of the most important.
We would be naive to assume.
It will probably not be mentioned. But I will mention it on their behalf. So you need access to intelligence.
Sure.
You need access to weapons. And remember, right now, our cartels around the world must develop capacity to buy AI capacity. So the criminal enterprise needs to be enhanced through access to AI. So that's the next frontier. For drug and other cartels and other criminal syndicates, including, by the way, terrorist networks. AI is the next frontier. You need political cover. That's another thing you need.
Yeah.
And that is why, if the allegations against Mchunu turn out to be true, his involvement answers this aspect, that if you are a criminal syndicate, you need access not only to intelligence, but you need political cover. Now, this brings me to the point that I say scares me.
Yeah.
In the end, it will not be enough to get the cover of a minister. In the end, your cartel must be represented in cabinet. In the end, the head of state must be a member of your cartel, appointing the cabinet. In the end, you must be represented in municipal councils. In the end, you must be represented in provincial legislatures. So ultimately, that's your goal.
And I'm afraid to say the judiciary too, if you really want to take it to its logical conclusion.
Of course. If you're as old or older, you're as old as I am or older, and you grew up in the townships, you might know people who were charged, let's say, with being part of a drug cartel, who you saw being sentenced by a magistrate to 10 years in jail, but never served a single day in jail. Because the cartel is able to pay the investigating officer, to pay the magistrate, to pay correctional services. So everyone in that value chain must be paid, must be bribed.
There was something that Masemola said, which you've just reminded me of, which I forgot, but I was also horrified by, which was at some point, I think during the Aman Swat situation, a senior officer was telling junior officers that there were 3 envelopes, one for you, one for the magistrate, and one for the prosecutor. And again, this is not to suggest that the entire judiciary is captured by a criminal cartel, but we would be naive in the extreme to assume, with the revelations that have already been proven true, or accepted or not denied, even up to this point, that these interests would not try to put pressure on even magistracy at least.
Well, remember, Ruby, that when Mkhwanazi talks about the fact that the judiciary is infiltrated, many of us do not regard the magistracy as the judiciary.
Sure, technically, it isn't.
The evidence he has led is about magistrates.
Yeah.
And some of the things Masemola has said is about magistrates.
Yeah.
And my view when it comes to the judiciary, I've always held that our judiciary is independent. But I'm not so naive as to think that all judges in this country are independent. That's not my view.
Sure. Yeah.
But Mkhwanazi has fingered magistrates. If my memory serves me well, he has not fingered a judge.
Yeah, that's correct.
No judge has been fingered yet. No allegations have been made against a judge.
Yeah. What you were saying about the or if one was running a cartel, we're giving cartels some ideas.
I think you and I would be very good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. The Mpofu-Walsh cartel.
Mpofu-Walsh Hosh curries.
Yes. And remember, we have legal capacity.
This is true.
His Royal Highness and you.
Oh, my goodness. So, Gogo, what else are you looking forward to, or what would you like to see in this commission? Let's put our hats on as evidence leaders now. and think, based on what we know, who would you like to see giving evidence, and what do you think would be the most important strands to pull on going forward?
Well, this will probably not be part of the work of the Madlanga Commission. I personally look at other countries in Asia, South America. I look at what is happening there with regard to drug cartels and other cartels.
Yeah.
And I do so to try and understand, as I said, how do the opportunities available to them become opportunities for cartels in South Africa? How do the constraints they face, these cartels in Asia and South America, become constraints for cartels in South Africa? Are there any lessons South African cartels learn from their Asian and South American counterparts when it comes to disentangling themselves from these constraints? But also, I look at these parts of the world to understand the positionality of the political class in Mexico, in Colombia, in Venezuela, and in Asia.
Yeah.
To see what the similarities are in the relationship they have with cartels when you compare them to our own political class and our own cartels. Another aspect, I think, is not going to be part of the Madlanga Commission is the extent to which capital is an element of the criminality we see in the operations of cartels of different kinds.
Absolutely, yeah. Another way of following how high this goes, because it may it may be that as the cartel diversifies and starts touching on other parts of the economy, it has to start collaborating with entrenched economic interests. I doubt we'll get this uncovered, but
No.
How high in the economic structure of South Africa does this go? And are there people who we think are, like you say, clean business people and entrepreneurs who may have interacted with or even have links to these criminal elements?
And remember, Hlubi, let me make this point before we come to the question of military intelligence. Another thing I try to do is to look at different countries and try to understand their intelligence networks and how they link or do not link to our intelligence networks.
Sure.
Remember, I said to you, the Shanghai Mafia is here.
Yeah.
The Israeli Mafia is here. Different kinds of mafia groupings from Latin America and Asia are here.
And the continent.
And the continent. I think I mentioned the Nigerian Mafia also. If these criminal syndicates are here, the intelligence services of the country from which they originate are here too. Are they working together with our intelligence services? And that answer invites another question. To the extent that there are rogue elements in national intelligence services, that dynamic is not completely a domestic South African dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely.
These intelligence services that are here, tracking the work of criminal syndicates that originate in their countries, they themselves are infiltrated by rogue elements. So those intelligence services, whether it's the Shanghai Mafia, whether it's the CIA, whether it's the Israeli intelligence, and so on, they themselves have rogue elements within them. So the question for me is, are they working together with the rogue elements in our own intelligence services? And if they are, to what end? And what kind of, therefore, what kind of support do South African cartels and Cartel South Africa receive because of the nexus between rogue elements in South African intelligence services and intelligence services that are here but are from other countries? That question too arises. So, Mkhwanazi is asked, did you act alone?
Right up front, right at the
on
beginning.
the 6th of July. He says no.
Yeah.
It was a collective effort. Now, I make certain assumptions. It is inconceivable that, at least at the level of intelligence, Mkhwanazi did not work with people in intelligence structures outside crime intelligence too. So it's quite possible that the effort to thwart the criminality of political actors, crime syndicates, and people acting within the police service, it's quite possible that that is a collective effort. Crime intelligence is involved. Military intelligence is involved. Other areas of intelligence are involved. But it also means this. It's not unreasonable to assume that we have a general, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, who has support from generals in the military, in the Navy, in the Air Force, and so on. What we know about generals in the military, in the army, they are bloody angry with the political class.
Yeah.
After the humiliation of Eastern DRC.
Which we as a country have barely properly inquired into.
Yeah, that too requires an inquiry.
Yeah.
I can tell you now that our generals, whether you're talking about the Air Force, whether you're talking about senior officers in the Navy, whether you're talking about the Army, they are bloody angry with politicians, ANC politicians in particular. They are very angry with the president. They are very angry with the Minister of Defense. That is not an unreasonable assumption on my part, I believe. Now, SMWX, because SMWX is out of order. And will allow people to say all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I'm watching SMWX and I see someone saying...
That's good. But the question is, have you subscribed while you are watching?
So here's my honest answer.
This could determine your future on the channel, Gogo.
You will like my answer. Or let me put it this way.
Yeah.
You will like the reason behind my answer.
Yeah.
I have subscribed to neither SMWX nor the dissection.
I see.
Because I'm committed to being non-partisan.
That's fine. But anyone watching now will subscribe to ease my pain.
No, they must.
So
they
that's
must.
fine.
So I'm watching SMWX and I see someone saying South Africa is ripe for a coup. And I see discussions based on that.
Yeah.
And people Some are very dismissive. Now, let me tell you something. If you are sitting in the security establishment, one of the things you do when you see someone, a commentator, a political analyst saying that on a public platform, immediately you institute a plan to discredit the idea that South Africa is ripe for a coup. Because sitting in the security establishment, you are worried about two things. National security and state security. And in this country, we confuse the two. Sometimes it's even people should know better within the state who confuse state security and national security and don't understand that state security is a component of national security. National security is a much wider responsibility. Now, for the sake of national and state security, you don't give oxygen to such an argument. But I'm a civilian. I am under no such constraint. When I look at how unhappy the generals are, and I'm basing this on what they've said at funerals and things like that, it's very clear to me they are very angry. It's also very clear it is going to be very difficult to convince a South African soldier to go and fight and die outside South Africa for interests he does not understand. It's going to be very difficult after the fiasco of the Eastern DRC. Now, it's also not unreasonable to surmise, therefore, as I said, generals say to Mkhwanazi, "Ride on, brother. We are with you. And if you need to do more," and by more I mean, if you need us to move in the direction of a corrective military regime, we're here. Let's have the conversation. And when Lukhona says South Africa is ripe for a coup, I'm thinking that's not far-fetched. Because when I scan the environment, I come to the conclusion that when a general, Lieutenant General, on the 6th of July, calls a press briefing and says what he says, that general then says it was a collective effort. It's not unreasonable to assume that some of the people in this collective effort are outside the police services. And if that is correct, some of them are located in the military. And therefore, you are not very far, if you are not there yet, from having a discussion amongst them about a corrective military regime. So I'm not dismissing what Lukhona said. Because I do think that our officers, police, military, and otherwise, are very upset with ANC politicians in particular, and the political class in general. Now, some will say, look at our architecture, and also look at certain events. 2 heads of states have been removed before they finish their term. And I'm not ruling out the possibility that Ramaphosa will be the 3rd to be removed before he finishes the 2nd term. I'm not ruling it out.
Absolutely not.
But what I'm not ruling out also is the possibility that, as was the case with Mbeki and Zuma, after their removal, there will be no smoke in the streets. And there will be no tanks in the streets. In other words, if someone says to me, our military has not shown an appetite for a coup, I will not quibble with them.
Sure.
But I will say to them who have never been here before.
You know, what you're saying, Gogo, is so interesting to me, because one way that I'm now interpreting what Mkhwanazi did after hearing what you're saying is it was a warning shot from the security establishment to the political class.
Yes.
To say, we're actually not going to have a coup in South Africa.
Yes.
But we are very unhappy. And we are now going to send a message, a very effective message, through possibly the most effective messenger as well, given where South Africa was and is at the time.
Yes.
And if you don't get your house in order, more to follow potentially.
Yes.
So, wow, yeah, I can see that this is not just a Mkhwanazi decision, but it could be at least a section of the entire
security establishment.
Exactly, apparatus.
So there may not be a coup.
Yeah.
Remember, these people are sitting with tons and tons of intelligence.
Yeah, yeah.
Things that will make you have an afro, you know?
Yeah.
All they will do one day is to decide to expose the country to critical parts of the intelligence they have access to in order to bring down a certain section of the political class.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I think voters have done part of that job. They did part of that job in May last year.
Yeah, yeah.
They may do so next year and in 2029.
Yeah.
The question is whether the military, senior officers in the police, in our intelligence services, look at election outcomes and think this is enough to thwart the efforts of the corrupt in our political class, or we need something more. Maybe because we know the Madlanga Commission or any commission of inquiry can only go so far. Let's share with the nation the real stuff. That's possible.
I'm getting to the point where I don't even know if I want to know the real stuff anymore, because the medicine is getting more and more bitter the more truth we learn.
I'm never being cluey. As I said, this platform makes us say things that are out of order. So I hear on this platform someone saying the president, what he knows is the same as what Mkhwanazi knows.
Yeah, sure.
And I said to you, I am very uncomfortable with the situation we have in this country, where the intelligence function is located in the office of the president.
Absolutely.
Because
you've been saying it for years now on this platform.
It must never be the case that the president knows what the intelligence services knows or knows more than them.
Yeah.
It must always be the case that the intelligence services know more than the head of state, because one of the parties that must be under constant surveillance as a possible source of risk and a threat to national and state security is the head of state. So actually, if I ran South Africa's intelligence services, my primary suspect as a possible source of compromise when it comes to national and state security would be the president. So every day, the intelligence services will be putting the president under surveillance to make sure, first of all, he does not fall into the pockets of other states. So it must never be, first of all, that the president is allowed to move the intelligence function to his office, because my own orientation is this. What if the head of state is the primary threat to state and national security?
Yeah.
And my answer is, therefore, the first suspect must always be the president when it comes to intelligence work.
Absolutely. And certainly when you move such a powerful function right next door to you in your office, you can't claim ignorance of national security threats.
Personally, Hlubi, once you do that, for me, that's a big red flag. And then I look at the nature of appointments you make in the intelligence function. And I look at some of them and I say, no, that appointment is not meant to enhance our intelligence function. It is meant to compromise our intelligence function. In other words, you appoint people you know are weak, don't have the skills nor the knowledge to run the intelligence function, but you give them that responsibility anyway. Are you always just someone who's making a mistake? No. We can't make that assumption.
Yeah.
We must make the assumption that there are actors inside and outside South Africa who may benefit from dubious appointments in the intelligence environment.
One other aspect to this conversation, Gogo, I suspect this is going to be one of the big ones, is crime intelligence, which is coming up a lot in this commission. I don't know how I missed this, but I was shocked to see Masemola conceding, this is the police commissioner, that in the murder of Sindiso Magaqa, an ANC Youth League politician, someone who's the deputy president of the Youth League, both the murder weapon and the vehicle belong to crime intelligence.
Hlubi, I was not shocked at all. For reasons I will not divulge. I was not shocked at all. So the moment I hear of a politician such as Sindiso Magaqa, that he has been assassinated, my first suspect is the state.
Wow.
That's my first suspect, is the state. That your investigation must start within the state. That's my first suspicion. So I was not surprised at all that the weapon and the vehicle that was used, the allegation is that they came from crime intelligence. Because there's another thing, Hlubi. Anywhere in the world, including here, if you read the vision and mission statement of the intelligence services, you have nice values like integrity. The intelligence operative must be a person of integrity. They must be honest. Now, the first time I saw such a vision statement, it was the vision statement of the National Intelligence Agency. And I was on the floor. I bruised my carpet because I was on the floor laughing. Because I'm thinking, well, the few that I know that are located in crime intelligence and other intelligence services do not fit that bill of integrity and honesty. In fact, one of the problems we have with crime intelligence in particular is that the informers are scumbags in many cases, sleazeballs, dodgy. And I don't know whether because of the work they do, you will also find that the operatives, too many of them have become dodgy themselves. And therefore, this makes our intelligence services, particularly crime intelligence, ripe for capture by criminal syndicates, because the members of the criminal syndicates and the members of crime intelligence, in some cases, have the same DNA.
Yeah.
So no, I was not surprised at all.
One of the scariest things possible is when the police themselves can be involved in crime, because then where do you run?
Yes. You run to the criminal syndicates.
Sure. Yeah, to protect you from...
you run to CAT, VIP protection services. They may protect you better than SAPs. In fact, maybe they're protecting SAPs. Who knows?
Dumisani Khumalo, the head of crime intelligence, is a figure.
I can't wait for him.
That's the one I'm most looking forward to, because that's going to unlock, I think, most of these questions that are...
I can't wait for Dumisani.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the president.
Yeah.
But I'm not holding my breath. That's the one family meeting I don't think the president wants to attend.
Yeah.
So I'm not holding my breath. So I can't wait for Dumisani Khumalo.
We now know, by the way, Gogo, that if you don't attend a commission, it's a criminal offense, though. So,
but we now know that your offense may not have been perfected. And therefore you can get away with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I also can't wait for the different... I can't wait for Mchunu.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait for Sibiya.
When we finally get that other side of the story.
I can't wait for Mkhwanazi. By the way, is it Brown Mkhwanazi?
Yeah,
Brown Mkhwanazi.
Yeah, Mkhwanazi. Yeah.
I can't wait for Brown Mkhwanazi.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear what the other members of the task team who will be called are going to say, except we're not going to hear it. We're not going to see it. It will be in camera. Therefore, I am hoping that with my Sangoma skills, I can be a fly on the wall, listening to the evidence in camera.
Absolutely.
But I think the Madlanga Commission is an important turning point. Politically, it's going to be another nail in the coffin of the ANC.
I fully agree. Although I was extremely skeptical, and I remain skeptical about commissions, I'm pleasantly surprised by the early days. And I want to encourage the evidence leaders, the commissioners, to keep...
me too.
Yeah.
There's something that I like about this commission. You may remember that when Advocate Kekana applied for Zondo to recuse himself as chair of the Zondo Commission.
Yeah.
One of the things Kekana, if I remember well, bemoaned is the fact that Zondo refused to have co-commissioners. Now we are seeing, as we watch the Madlanga Commission, the advantage of having three, not one commissioner.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, of course, to counter my own argument, I will say, and by the way, my counter is stupid, but I will make it.
Yeah.
To counter my own argument, I will say, no, having one commissioner, having Zondo alone was not a problem, because he had a battery of lawyers and investigators supporting the work of the commission. And my counter to that, imagine the difference between a commission of one man, Zondo, supported by a battery of investigators and lawyers, and a commission of three commissioners supported by the same.
Yeah.
Which one would you choose?
Absolutely. Which reminds me, by the way, that Mkhwanazi dropped the bombshell that he actually submitted an affidavit to Zondo and didn't get a hearing.
Well, this brings me to my other bias. I will repeat it. I think those who have been watching SMWX long enough know that my bias is that the Zondo Commission for me was one of the lowest moments in the history of commissions of inquiry in this country. And I am interested in knowing why they did not invite Mkhwanazi. And why they did, I still ask, why did they not invite Arthur Fraser?
Absolutely.
And my own answer, in the absence of anything to the contrary, my own answer remains: they were satisfied with the dots they were shown to join. And they were satisfied with playing the role of not joining certain dots and joining only those dots they were asked to join.
Gogo Aubrey Matshiqi, thank you for another fascinating conversation on SMWX. I look forward to exploring this moment in this commission with you in much more depth going forward. Togos. Like, share, subscribe. Help us reach 400,000 subscribers. And keep it locked on SMWX. Aye.